We're a custom precision metal manufacturer. Having the space makes them.
Welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. While we have all been really excited to acknowledge our in-person attendees, I thought it important to also recognize the virtual attendees that are here. We did have a few persons select that option, and we're pleased that we're able to be flexible where we can invite engagement from those where they are. So for our virtual attendees, it's my understanding that via the chat option in Zoom, you can submit questions for our consideration. And also via the guidebook application, there's a discussion option where you can click on discussion and post your questions in there. And one of our team members from the AAAS staff will bring those questions to our attention, and we will do our best to make sure we address those questions. So thank you again to our virtual audience. We are pleased that you are taking time out of your day to join us. As with the other session, we will formally open this one with another video. The HBCU-UP program has been around for 25 years, and it has really been a stepping stone, if you will, for PIs in the HBCU community to understand the magnitude that is the National Science Foundation and its significant investments that are available to colleges and universities across the country to enhance their STEM education and research capacity. So as a former beneficiary and recipient of such awards to leading them, it's really something that I'm proud of, and I'm very much committed to ensuring this legacy for others. AAAS has been an amazing partner, and so we are so thankful to AAAS for their commitment to really creating a space where our PI community feels comfortable engaging, able to foster relationships, but more importantly, relationships that can become partnerships and collaborations where they can develop ideas to which our organization can consider for potential funding opportunities. And so that's just a reminder that if you are not aware of my background, I am a former tenured faculty member from an HBCU, having been a recipient, thank you, of awards from this program, HBCU-UP, that I'm really, really proud of. And so as mentioned in the video, it is my pleasure to certainly serve in this capacity, and I'm excited to do so. Just an additional note, this really is a work where it really strongly resonates with who I am as an individual. My great-great-grandmother and her brother changed the trajectory of my family's life when they graduated from my also alma mater, Virginia Union University, in 1926. And so this is really a family legacy. And I just offer that to let you know that, yes, we are people. As Dr. Barber mentioned, we're not the boogeyman, but we in HBCU-UP are really committed to this work. And this work is really a team effort. And so to start the business meeting, I think it's important for everyone in the room to know all of the team members who serve the HBCU-UP program. So at this time, if you would join me on the podium to introduce yourselves. In any order you like.
Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to greet you. My name is Tori Rolak-Smith. I also have deep ties to the HBCU community personally within my family. I could go down the long list, but the sibling rivalry will rise up as the MEAC tournament is this weekend, so I will try to relax on that front and just have you know that I am both the product of a historically Black college and university 2 generations down, and then also very pleased to work with the program at the National Science Foundation, in addition to working with the Faculty Early Career Development Program and leading NSF's Eddie Bernice Johnson Includes initiative. Great to be here.
Good morning, HBCU-UP community and friends. My name is Joyce Belcher. And because Dr. Paige-Anderson and Dr. Moore flexed a little bit with their HBCU, I figured I'd start with flexing of my own. I'm here before you as a proud alum of Jackson State University, which I happen to think is the best HBCU in the land. I am a program director here at the National Science Foundation. I've been here for a little over a year now. I'm here in a rotating capacity. My academic appointment is at Everett Community College in Washington State, so all the way across the country, where I serve as Dean of STEM and Health Professions. In addition to being part of this dynamic team, I am also part of the teams that support the Lewis Stokes Alliances for Minority Participation Program and the STEM Education Postdoctoral Research Fellowship Program, which doesn't have a cute acronym yet. So happy to be here and happy to be a resource to you should you be interested in asking any questions about any of those other programs as well. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kelly Johnson. I am a PhD candidate at Virginia Tech. I'm also a proud alumni of an HBCU, South Carolina State University. Also come from a lineage of HBCU goers. So this is my first time here. Very glad to be here. Coming here as well as a JEDI Fellow through the American Evaluation Association, also on a rotation, and my first rotation is with HBCU-UP, so it's been a pleasure. Excited to be here and learn from everybody.
Good morning. I am Dr. Sierra Jackson. I am not a product of HBCU, but both my sisters went to Dillard University and Xavier University in New Orleans, and about 7 cousins back to back have graduated from Xavier as pharmacists. So I am here. I also was a teaching faculty at Dillard University after my PhD at Ohio State. I am the AAAS fellow with both HBCU-UP and NSF Includes. So I am here as well as a resource and just happy and excited to connect.
Good morning, HBCU community. My name is Leroy Jones II. I am also not a product of an HBCU. However, I did teach at Chicago State University, which is a predominantly Black institution, for 21 years. Professor of chemistry, as well as the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences for the last 7 or 8 years before transitioning into the NSF. And then also I was an American Council of Education Fellow with Hampton University for a year working with Bill Harvey. So do know, a bit about the HBCUs. But with that said, I'm affiliated with the HBCU program here. I'm at the NSF and also work with the LSM program. It is so good to see so many of you with us, and thank you for joining us, for over the next 2 days.
Good morning. My name is Alfred Hall, and I'm also honored to serve as a program officer with the HBCU-UP team. Similar to Joyce, I have a strong family lineage with Jackson State University. I am the son of both my mom and dad met at Jackson State, and Jackson State is where I met my wife, and we're also the parents of a Jackson State grad. It is truly a deep connection. And we're grateful to serve the HBCU-UP community and through all of the great work, outstanding work that you're doing for your faculty and students. In addition to the HBCU-UP work, I also serve as the lead program director for the Excellence Awards in Science and Engineering through the Presidential Award for Excellence in Math and Science Teaching, as well as mentoring in STEM. And we're always reaching out to seek diverse representatives among those presidential awardees. And then lastly, we'll say that I'm fairly new to the NSF family through a rotation assignment where my home institution is at the University of Memphis, in which I serve in the College of Education as Assistant Dean and Associate Professor of Science and STEM Education. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tomasz Durakiewicz. I was born and raised in Southeast Poland. And my last name, Durakiewicz, translates into a stupid man. It really does. I think it's very appropriate. I was doing research for about 16 years in Los Alamos National Laboratory. And 10 years ago, I moved to NSF in search for excitement. And boy, did I find it. I'm now part of the best program at NSF, led by Carleitta, HBCU-UP. I also manage condensed matter physics program, CREST program, expand QASC program, and I think I should reduce the number of programs I'm managing. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here.
And there's one other member of our team. I was trying to see if I could locate her, but I want to be the first to say that none of the work of HBCU-UP would proceed without the support of our program specialist, Ms. Toni Edquist. So please join me in recognizing Toni. And so with that, the primary goal of the business meeting is for our team to share information. That's what we want to do. We want to share information with you, and we've identified the persons that we believe are best positioned to share information from your perspective or for your benefit, but from their insights and expertise. And so first, we will have comments from our colleagues at the Science and Technology Policy Institute, where we want you to know at HBCU-UP, we have engaged in collaborations, if you will, from the STIPI organization as well as WestStat, where we are inviting you to be really contributors to a broader conversation that we'd like to facilitate. And so with that, I'd like to welcome our STIPI colleagues, and I'll come back up and share more about WestStat.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Brian Zuckerman. Along with my colleague Sharon Williams, we are at the Science and Technology Policy Institute, which is, if you've never heard of us, a federally funded research and development center, or FFRDC, that supports the federal science agencies and the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. As Carleitta mentioned, we've just started working with EES and the HBCU-UP program on a study related to institutional research capacity building at HBCUs, including how you yourselves define STEM research capacity and sort of what, looking forward into the future, would be the ideal positioning for HBCUs and the unique contributions in STEM that they could make. So we're just at the beginning of this effort, and we'll be observing at some of the sessions today and tomorrow. I'm just listening. And we'll also be at the 2 o'clock session tomorrow on the informal meetings. So we'll have a little table if you want to stop by and share your views on sort of what your institution and what you think of as sort of the future of STEM research capacity at your institution and at HBCUs more broadly. Thank you so much, and I will back to Carleitta.
Thank you, Brian. So Brian referenced the informal rapid meetings. So on the guidebook app, there's a link to not only join in conversation with the STIPI organization, but there's about 47 organizations that are available for you to engage with in persons, both representatives from within the National Science Foundation, but also external to the National Science Foundation, some of whom are here as well. So thank you to all of you who will be participating in that session. And this is our appeal to certainly invite you to sign up for some of those conversations so you can learn more about those organizations if you haven't done so already. I am here again to give insight and voice to the second project that we're working with an organization called WestStat. Our WestStat colleagues are joining us virtually. And so on behalf of them, I'd like to share some information from them via the slides. So HBCU-UP, we are working with the WestStat team to develop a theory of change. And we believe this will be really critical to us programmatically, but also to you as the PI community, where this theory of change is really intended to capture the 25-year history of HBCU-UP, really demonstrating how we are uniquely positioned to serve you in building out your STEM education and research capacity. But to also document the linkages to the program activities and the outcomes that we anticipate. We want to have a level of intentionality about how we're doing our work and how we're doing our work with you, and your work then informs how we might be able to capture the full impact of our collective efforts. We also want to create a level of transparency for the HBCU-UP constituents, including PIs, but also the communities that you serve. We want the world, frankly, to know that we not only exist, but we exist for an integral purpose, and we have strategically positioned ourselves to advance progress towards that goal. And so the theory of change will certainly do that. In addition, that theory of change will hopefully inform our program's monitoring and evaluation efforts for future endeavors to come. And so next, oops, they told me I had a clicker. So I was going to say next slide. But in doing so, we want your perspective. We want to hear from you. And so the WestStat team is coordinating focus groups where they are inviting your engagement to add voice to this conversation around the theory of change. While we programmatically believe we know what we do, we equally understand that how you receive what we do may not always be the same and in the same voice. So this is your moment both to give voice to the conversation being conducted by the STIPI organization, but also for WestStat. And you see a QR code there. We also will have paper forms of those QR codes so you're able to register and fill out those surveys or that one survey to indicate your availability to give voice in that regard. And so if you are anticipating a follow-up after you receive or after you complete that survey, the contact persons from the WestStat organization are Jackson Miller and Carmen Perry. They will follow up with you by Monday of next week. And if you have any specific questions leading up to that point, or you want to know more information about kind of how that experience will take place, feel free to reach out to Jackson directly. And just briefly, the WestStat organization really is a leader in research, data collection, and analysis, as well as technical assistance and program evaluation. While established in 1963, there is a wide range of services offered by this organization, and they really have contributed their expertise to understanding public policy improvements, youth development, nutrition, housing, really the breadth of really a wide area of interest. And we are pleased to have them on board to help us not only tell our story, but tell your story and how we work toward this common goal of advancing STEM education and research at HBCUs. And so next, again, if you have questions, make sure you, if you're virtual, you can put them in the chat or using Guidebook, but we will open the floor up for some questions as well. But in the interest of time, I'm excited to invite our colleagues from the Division of Grants and Agreements who will come forth and give their presentation. Specifically, my colleague Denisa Traboini is coming up to share. We know that there are always common questions around post-award management, budget changes, et cetera. And so we wanted the experts here to share with you more about that information, but also give you time to engage with that office. And I just want to say thank you to the other colleagues of DGA that are here and represented. We definitely value this partnership and look forward to engaging with you more. Denisa.
Thank you for that. Forward is green. Thank you so much. Thank you, Carleitta. Good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here with you all today. My name is Denisa Traboini. I am a Grants and Agreements Officer in the Division of Grants and Agreements at the National Science Foundation. And I'm joined with my colleagues, my branch chief, Denise Martin, my team lead, Rashawn Ferrier, and they're here. We can answer any questions after this presentation. So we are here to share some information that hopefully you will find helpful, tips how to manage your awards. So NSF has funded so many innovations, and here's an example of all the amazing things that NSF has contributed to. So the mission of the agency is to promote the progress of science, advance national health, and secure the national defense. There's also, by the numbers, we have a budget of over $9 billion. We issue about 11,000 new awards each year. And specifically DGA, which is the office that I work in, specifically in a fiscal year, we usually process about 17,000 funded actions, including about 11,000 new projects.
We manage about 5,000 post-award amendments, over 500 PI transfers, and the grants office, which is an office of about 40 staff members. We manage about 50,000 active awards, and on average, a grants officer manages about 3,000 awards. This is, we've shared this slide to have for your reference. The slides will be shared with you later on, so you can have it if you ever need to reference it to contact. So DGA, short, the Division of Grants and Agreements at NSF, we love acronyms. So the grants office is, we call DGA. It is equivalent to your sponsor research offices at your colleges, universities, institutions. And we are there to support the program office to manage the awards, issue the awards, et cetera. So what are some of the responsibilities? So program receives your proposals, they put together the panels to review them and then make the recommendations. And then once that happens, so they're in charge of solicitation development, they review your proposals, they make the recommendations, and then they manage sort of the programmatic technical aspects of your projects. And then DGA, the responsibilities on our side are to review the recommended proposals to ensure that they're adhered by the solicitation guidelines, the NSF policies and procedures, et cetera. And then we manage the administration, the post-award administration of the grants. So what are some of the responsibilities on your end? So NSF's legal relationship is with the grantee so that the awards are issued to the institutions. So the grantee is responsible for adhering to all the terms and conditions of the awards and managing, being good stewards of the federal funds. Okay. Technical difficulty. Well, it is very important on your end to have a very good relationship and a close relationship with your colleagues at the central office, the sponsor research office, because they're there to support you, provide guidance. They are authorized to negotiate the awards. They're authorized to accept the awards on behalf of the institution. So they're there to be your ally, your advocate, and work together with you. At times, in the grants office, I've received emails when there is some dispute between the AOR or the PIs. And often we encourage the both parties to kind of come to a resolution. NSF does not like to serve as an arbiter, if you will. So we are not there to play referee, but we're there to provide a platform and provide assistance. So it is really important. I can't stress enough to have that good relationship, close relationship with your AORs. I don't know oh, there it is. I haven't learned the technology. I guess I just have to, okay, there you go. So the post-award management. So you put in your proposals, you've received your awards, you received the letter. The first step should be to have perhaps a kickoff meeting if you can, or meet with the folks at the sponsor research office to go over the terms and conditions of their award, what is required in order to manage the grant properly. A go-to resource, which is very, very helpful, is the proposal and awards policies and procedures guide. We have a new one that comes out each year. This year, we have a new one coming, which will become effective on May 20th, 2024. So this should be your go-to as you put together your proposals. I'm sure you use this resource to get guidance regarding your budgets, how to put together the proposal documentation, et cetera. So it is a really great resource, even at the post-award stage as you're managing your award. If you have questions about how do I add a sub-award, what do I need to put together? So this is a really great resource to have. So regarding the post-award management, as a grantee, you have rebudgeting authority, meaning the budget that you submitted with your proposal, once the award is issued and you have a budget attachment to the award document, that is the budget that was approved by NSF. Now, as you carry on your project activities, there may be a need to make changes to your budget or shift some funds around, as a grantee, you have your budgeting authority. NSF grants you that authority. So as long as there's no changes in scope, whatever changes that you make to your budget do not result in a change of scope, or you are not shifting funds from participant support costs to other categories. I'll speak a little bit later about that because participant support costs is a special budget category that you need permission to move funding out of. So we can talk a little bit more about the participant support costs. As part of your program, you most likely a lot of your awards include funds for participant support costs. And this is a very unique category to, especially to NSF, because it is participant support costs are exempt from indirect costs. So, and then is, as I mentioned, one of the categories where you need to have permission by NSF in order to shift the cost around. So rebudgeting is restricted for the participant support costs. Those costs have to be specifically used for trainees. They cannot be used for speakers. Then they cannot be used for employees of the institution. So in your policies regarding participant, in your institutional policies, you should have a definition, for example, like what is considered a participant. So there are certain programs where employees may be considered participants, but those are special programs. So when it comes to participants, oftentimes in your projects, you may have students that, you are using as participants. And so some of the costs that are associated could be things that, for example, in other programs or other categories may not be used, such as like T-shirts, or in some incentive payments are allowed when you are using participants. So under research.gov, which is the portal that we use to manage the awards, there is under the About section, there is a list of notification and requests. So as you go through your projects, and then there's a need to, say, add a sub-award to your project when you haven't had the authorization by NSF before, or you want to submit a change of scope request or a no-cost extension request, there is a section under research.gov where you can, there's a list of all the requests that you can submit, and it references also the policy and provides information whether you need to submit a request through NSF or not. So I've listed here on my slides all the different types of requests that you may submit, and then the policy reference to it, and then where you would submit that request, which is mostly research.gov anyway, so. Okay, so we can talk a little bit about one of those post-award requests that you may be submitted, no-cost extensions. So as you manage your awards and then you come towards the close of the project, there is a need to extend the award. That first no-cost extension you can submit by yourselves. Your AOR can assist you with submitting that request, and it's a grant you approved. So NSF does not need to approve that first no-cost extension request. Your AOR can go into research.gov and extend the award about 12 months. It is highly recommended that you do this about 30 days prior to the end of that grant, so that there is enough time to get that squared away. No amendment is issued at that time, since it's a grantee approved no-cost extension. But please be aware that each time that you request a no-cost extension, the award cannot be at zero balance. You have to have some funding left over and activities, because we cannot extend the awards just because there's money left over. There should be some activities that are still being carried out. So say that first no-cost extension goes through, the 12 months pass, and there's a need to extend an additional amount of time. That becomes the first NSF approved no-cost extension request. Your AOR can submit the request through research.gov, and it should be done about 45 days prior to the end of the grant. And this request will be reviewed by the program officer, but an amendment will not be issued to the award. There may be a letter that will go out by the program officer, but the grants office will not amend the award. That is the second NSF approved no-cost extension. So if you want to extend a third time, that request then will come to the grants office, and the grants office will review, and they'll approve it, and then the third no-cost extension becomes, amends the award, and an amendment document will be sent to your institution. Again, there always has to be some activities left over. The justification has to address that. The grants cannot be extended just because there's funding left over. And we highly recommend that you are in line with expending your awards, because there is expiring, there's certain grants may have expiring funds. Those funds expire, the appropriations expire within 6 years. So if you keep extending, there may be a time where you're getting close to the 6-year period. And then once that happens, the funds go back to Treasury. So NSF cannot do anything to get those funds back. So oftentimes people ask a question, can I request a no-cost extension if I have an overdue report? So overdue reports, and we'll talk a little bit later about that, are so important. Those have to be submitted on time, because if you have an overdue report and you submit a post-award request, the system does not allow us to take any action until that report is submitted, reviewed by the program officer, and actually approved. So once that is resolved, then we can move on. So that will impact your post-award request, will impact your new awards, or any other awards related to your co-PIs. So everybody gets affected. So it's really important. So we'll talk more about that. And then can I request a no-cost extension when I have zero balance? That cannot be requested. There has to be some funding there. Okay, so which brings me to the next point. As I previously mentioned, the progress reports are really important. As part of your the terms of your award, each year you have to submit your annual progress reports. You have a window of about 90 days to get those submitted, and on the 91st day, those become overdue. So we highly recommend that you submit those progress reports well within that 90 days, because it will give some time to the program officers to also review, approve. If they need to send it back to you, there's plenty of time to address any concerns or questions that the program officer may have. And this way, if you do it within the 90 days, the progress report will not become overdue, and therefore it will not impact any actions that come through afterwards. Now, through the 2 CFR 200, the uniform guidance, NSF is required to report any federal entities that have not properly closed their award. So submitting progress reports, final outcome reports are really important. If those are overdue a year after, NSF may be required to report those on FAPIS, which is another system. And once it goes on FAPIS, it stays there for 5 years despite being resolved. So it is really important. We cannot stress enough to actually get those progress reports submitted. And you'll get notifications. Hopefully your AORs will be sending you reminders to get those submitted on time. And then the project outcomes report, as I mentioned, those are due about 120 days after the grant has ended. So it's important to get those submitted in a timely fashion as well. So because any overdue reports, final outcomes report on one of your awards will impact your new awards as well. Then once the project outcomes report is submitted, you are ensuring that all activities have been completed. So we cannot process no cost extension after that. We cannot make any changes because you have already certified that the project activities have been completed. So what are some reasons that, for example, may delay your request? You submit a proposal and we are reviewing your budget. So if I'm reviewing a budget and I see that the grantee is requesting subawards, yet detailed subaward budgets have not been included, I will put that proposal on review on hold, and then we'll reach out. So that is a bit more time consuming, it takes time. Or if we are at the end of fiscal year, we may issue the award with a restriction. We will withhold the subaward authorization. So budget issues are some of the things that may like hold things up, or overdue reports on your other projects will impact. So those are some 4 reasons for delays in processing your proposals. So requesting revised budgets. You know, you have to, usually we reach out to your AORs and maybe CC the PIs as well to ensure that whatever it is that we are requesting is submitted on time so that we can move things forward. And, we highly encourage for you to reach out to us whenever you have questions, concerns. The program officers are there to answer any technical questions regarding your project. For grant-related questions, you can always come to your Cognizant Grants Officer, CC your AOR, make sure that the AOR is always included in the conversation, so everyone is sort of on the same page. So we highly encourage for you to reach out to us as often as you'd like. And as always, we are looking for new talent, so please go to the website to look for opportunities. The program officer is always looking for rotators, IPAs. I was once an IPA in between 2015 and 2017 at the National Science Foundation, and I loved it so much that I then returned as a full-time employee. So it's a really wonderful agency. Here's some information for NSF where you can find us. And then we can leave some room for questions. Yes, go ahead.
I figured I'm here, so I might as well ask. It's
Absolutely.
the easy way to get information. We have summer programs at our school, our university at Harristow that are supported by NSF funding. I had a few of these myself, and I know my colleague's going to have one this summer. And the question is, for instance, for an NSF rig, when you say that employees cannot be compensated, I was told by another person that we're not considered employees when we're off a 10-month contract. Is that correct? And so therefore, if I were to assist or be part of other programs, which I've been asked, I was told, oh, you'll get some support for, contributing to the success of the program. For instance, TRIO is big at our school. So, I've been asked to do that. And I've been told, oh, well, you're off your 10-month. So you can get support.
You can still get support, but the way the funds are budgeted cannot go under participant support costs.
Got it.
So you could be requesting 2-month compensation for it. It depends also
I
on the
see.
solicitation, right? You have to
Right.
review the program solicitation to ensure there's no restrictions. But as far as
Like, I guess definition of employee.
yes,
for a-
exactly. So that probably is more however the institution defines it.
Okay.
But if you're working for the organization, you're considered an employee with their 10-month contract or not,
Right.
but you can still get funding, but you cannot be considered a participant if you're
Got
an
it.
employee. Now, there
Got it.
are certain programs, probably like teachers or school districts where, it may be allowed that they are budgeted under participants. So you can
Right.
still get funding, but you are not considered a participant.
But if you assist in the program, like you're providing a service.
You could request compensation salary.
Oh, okay, great.
NSF has a 2-month.
Right.
policy,
No, no
but-
problem. No, that clears the air. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Denisa, can I also add to that? So also, if you look in the proposal award policies and procedures guide, there is a clear definition of what participant support should be. And in the parentheses of the definition, it'll say non-employees or cannot be an employee. But as Denisa clarified, it depends upon your organization's internal policies and procedures of how you charge that additional time. So there could be unique circumstances, but we encourage you to talk with your sponsor research office and also visit the proposal award policies and procedure guide as your support in case you need documentation as to why you put those costs in that category.
Thank you, Denise. Anyone else have any questions? I can answer word-specific questions, but we can answer more general questions. Yes.
Yes, hi, I'm Miranda McBride from North Carolina A&T, and I had this question. Yes, Abby Bride. I have asked this question to our program director, but I wanted to ask it in general, just in case there's others who might be in the same situation. I actually received a Catalyst Award, so my budget was condensed from 3 years to 2 years. I am in my actual 3rd year, but don't have an evaluator because I didn't have a budget for an evaluator for the 3rd year. So I wanted to see will that have a negative impact on my year 3 final report? Because it wasn't budgeted, and so I'm not going to have that.
So if a cost wasn't budgeted, you still have rebudgeting authority,
I didn't have the funds to be able to,
but you didn't have the funds.
No.
Okay, so there was nowhere else where you could shift funding.
except for participant support, and that was discouraged.
That was discouraged. Okay. Well, if you had, I've seen cases where you have funding under participant support costs and you may not use all of that.
Yeah.
And you just have to submit a request to NSF and just say, okay, well, I'm not going to use all of it. I'll still keep some funding under participants, but I'll shift some to an evaluator because that is what's needed. And as long as it doesn't constitute a change in your scope, I think we can always submit a request.
Okay.
Or perhaps, I'm not sure if the program can address that, but there's supplemental funding and there's perhaps other ways to address it.
Okay, because it may be too late. I'm not sure because
Okay.
my report is due in August. And so this whole half of the year, I haven't had an
Okay, well,
evaluator.
also
involved.
consider the no-cost extensions. If there's still activities that need to be carried out, for example, you can always submit a no-cost extension
Okay,
to
all
that.
right,
award.
thank you.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah, I have a very similar situation. So I come from the Winston-Salem State. I have a catalytic grant 3 years ago, and I made a 1-year extension. So my question is this, okay? So when I develop a budget for the proposal, I put a 2 years external evaluate. So, but I extend 3 years. And then I think the external evaluate did a report, annual report, the second year. So that's the reason. So I don't have I don't worry about the budget problem because I have 2 years budget, but the evaluate do from second year, the third year, that should be okay, right? My question is this, okay? So in my budget, there are 2 years payment for external evaluate, okay? But since since the grant is 10 to 3 years, so that my budget only can pay the external evaluate 2 years, but the evaluate started from second year. So actually she will do the second year and the third year. That should be okay. Right?
Well, you don't need like carryover authority if that's what you're, so basically at NSF, you don't need permission to carry over the funds from year 1 to year 2. So if you, is that what you're asking me?
Yeah,
Or- I'm not sure that I understand the
you
question.
know, my question is this, okay? So the first year is very slow because first year, I guess, is the in the pandemic time. So there are not too many activities.
Okay.
So that's reason. So I suggest for maybe because I was planning to extend 1 more year. So I asked her to, how about this? Okay, so if she can do the evaluation from the second year. So we still needed the budget, so that will never affect the following proposal, right?
If you still have funding available, you could still pay the evaluator.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. I just want to clarify.
Yeah, of
because-
course.
Yeah, because I just follow up with that question because, usually, when we prepare for the budget, right? So the budget is based on the initial, so the period. So once you get an extension, for me, no problem. So I can carry over so those rest of the funding to the third year. And so the problem is how about the outside, right? Or how about external evaluate? So there will get us some problem for the budget. So if there's no problem, just no problem. So for sure. So thank you so much. So
Sure, absolutely. But just to be sure, I will pass my business card and you can send me a note.
okay,
And then I can look further into it to ensure that I look at your award, I look at everything to
Yeah.
make sure that my response is correct. I can look further and research this further. you
oh,
like.
okay, no problem. So if I can get your business card and anyway, this year I need to finish my final report. So she will do the evaluation. So the meanwhile, I'll email you about the situation.
Absolutely.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so
I'm
much.
happy to help.
Thank you.
And we will stick around if you have additional questions. We'll be at the table. Thank you so much for having us here today.
Thank you, and thanks for those questions. I will note that there might be questions from our virtual audience. I will make it my business to go collate some of those questions and make sure we get answers for you. In the meantime, I'd like to invite my colleague Joyce Belcher, Dr. Joyce Belcher, up to discuss this PAP-G in more detail about more funding opportunities beyond which you currently have and what might be available to you. Thanks, Joyce.
All right, hello again. Before I begin sharing some business, just a personal aside to my virtual attendee people and the guidebook app downloading people, I posted in the discussion at the beginning of this session, and no one has hearted my post. So I am offended, very much so. My phone is at the table. And I hope that when I return to my chair and check the app, I will have some friends who have hearted my post. If not, I'll see you again in another session. All right, so welcome again. Good morning. I am here to share a little bit of information about the PAP-G, which has been referenced already today, and additional information about a recently released Dear Colleague letter on behalf of the HBCU-UP program, NSF 24-059. How many of you are already familiar with PAP-G? Raise your hand. Yes, I see hands. So this would be normally the time in my class where I say, well, since you already know about the PAP-G, we can skip the lecture and go straight to the quiz. Well, how about that? All right. I'll be kind. We do have a little bit of information, which might be a gentle reminder for some of you, and maybe new information to others, but we definitely wanted to ensure that we share and provide that context on behalf of the program. Okay. All right. So as referenced earlier by my colleagues in DGA, the PAP-G is the Proposal and Award Policies and Procedures Guide. It is organized into two parts. So the first part really speaks to the proposal preparation and submission process. The second part speaks to post-award administration, monitoring, guidelines that we adhere to in order to ensure that we're providing adequate support in maintaining those awards beyond the award action. So PAP-G, affectionately called for short. You can find the PAP-G online, and if you had gone to look for it, you'll see that we are presently in NSF 23-1. So if you have submitted a proposal or have been planning to submit a proposal since January 30th of 2023, you might be familiar with this 23-1 version. And also, as mentioned earlier, there will be a new version that goes and applies to proposals submitted on or due after May 20th of 2024. So that will be version 24-1. If you are interested in seeing, if you're still in the developmental process and you're interested in seeing how potential changes might impact your timeline and your plans for submission, it's always good to note that the summary of the changes from version to version can also be found online. So to access that information, you would visit www.nsf.gov. From there, you would click on the Find Funding and Apply tab, and that's going to expose a drop-down menu where you can then select PAPG. Once you do that, it brings you to this page. And as we mentioned earlier, you have the full access to the full text of the PAPG document. You also have information related to upcoming changes that could impact your plans, all that accessible on the public-facing web. Interesting to note that in addition to spelling out guidelines and procedures for proposal submission, there are other pieces of information which could be helpful to you as a community that can be found in the PAPG. And those are related to other types of funding mechanisms which can be supported via programs across the agency. They are found in Chapter 2, Section F, and that section is entitled Other Types of Proposals. So they're inclusive of supplemental type proposals, also new proposals that can speak to certain needs. And so these are funding opportunities and funding mechanisms that are available to you outside of the awards and opportunities described in a particular program's full program solicitation. So this table right here lists those out, but it also provides the section reference in the PAPG. If you want to go straight to that section and learn more about those funding opportunities, you have the ability to do so by cross-checking those references. So in addition to kind of bringing that to your attention, I am excited to share a little bit of information about a recently released Dear Colleague letter, and that's Dear Colleague Letter 24-059. Green means go. And that Dear Colleague letter is entitled Advancing STEM Education, Training, and Workforce Development at HBCUs. So this is an opportunity available to you, and via this mechanism, we invite proposals to HBCU-UP that generate new knowledge on the contributions of HBCUs in the fields of education, training, and workforce development of underrepresented minority students in STEM fields. So if interested in pursuing a submission via this Dear Colleague letter, we would always encourage you to reach out to a HBCU-UP program officer. It could be the one that you're already working with on your currently funded award, or it could be another. We are a team that collaborates and works together very, very closely. So you're welcome to reach out to anyone you have access to get your questions addressed. So in this Dear Colleague letter, we really uplift the program full solicitation, but we also speak to other opportunity types that we invite and encourage submission for. And those are planning proposals, conference proposals, eager grants, and equipment proposals. So what I'm going to do is I'll spend a little bit of time over the next couple of slides just bringing your attention to those mechanisms as they are part of this Dear Colleague letter. So beginning with planning proposals are used to support initial planning and collaborative activities that are used to formulate new ideas for larger scale projects. So if you have something that you're interested in developing and you have aspirations of submitting something to maybe a track that's described in the full solicitation, but you would benefit greatly from the support to catalyze those activities, then I would encourage you to consider a planning proposal. Planning proposals are submitted as new proposals. And again, looking to catalyze those new collaborations, help promote broadening participation. For a planning proposal, part of that submission is a very concise 8-page program description. And if you pursue this planning proposal, you are eligible for up to $100,000 in funding per year for a duration of 2 years. So again, this is something that is available to you across the agency. So we encourage you, if your goals or aspirations align with HBCU-UP, to pursue a planning proposal at HBCU-UP. But if you are familiar with other programs across the agency that you think a planning proposal might make sense in that space, these PABG opportunities are available across the agency, and by that I mean across the NSF. For planning proposals, PO concurrence is required. So if you do have aspirations to pursue this, please again, contact a program officer. And in part of that engagement, they're going to be providing you with feedback, guidance, and then ultimately a concurrence email or concurrence letter, which you will upload with your submission of this planning proposal. The next one, which can be found in Chapter 2, Section F9, is the conference proposal. The conference proposal mechanism supports the funding of conferences and meetings to bring together scholars, students, researchers to discuss their research findings or their education in new spaces. Important to note with this one, conference proposals, like our other funding mechanisms, are reviewed via the NSF merit review criteria. So you must speak to intellectual merit and broader impacts, which you are familiar with, but you also need to address the fact that your request would be in support of an activity of a convening or conference that is unique and address a need that's not presently being addressed via a normal convening of a professional society. So we had a conference proposal that was funded most recently that supported an initiative at Alabama State University. The PI, Dr. Green, is here, so he was able to take advantage of that. Hello, Dr. Green. So yeah, we were at Alabama State on last week, had a phenomenal workshop with close to 100 participants, and having a follow-up convening with that next week, actually. So you're keeping me busy, Dr. Green. Dr. Green was able to take advantage of a conference proposal mechanism. So again, we ask that if you're interested in pursuing that, reach out to a program officer. Ideally, the request should come approximately 1 year in advance of the anticipated date of the conference. And that timeline is set such that you and your team would be successful in, if receiving these funds and these funds are awarded, putting together a meeting with intention. Conferences take a lot of work. Dr. Green's gonna nod, yeah. So will Iris. Conferences take a lot of work to plan. There's a lot of logistical components and elements. And so rather than, making a request and wanting to do something within a couple months turnaround, we really invite you to consider in advance such that your team will be appropriately supported and have time as a benefit in planning your convening. So also very, very important, conference proposals need to address accessibility. So you need a plan for accessibility. You need a plan to have statements related to the fact that we are in anti-harassment spaces when we convene, and policies associated with reporting any violations of harassment and anti-discrimination policies. So some additional information about conference proposals. You can request what you need to support the convening. For proposals in excess of $50,000, you must include information related to collaborators and other affiliations that will be involved in the delivery of the facilitation of that convening. Conference proposals requests also include standard cover sheet, project summary, a project description that is not to exceed 15 pages in length, with some required components, including recruitment plan, resources for childcare for attendees, and a number of things related to costs. So you want to make sure you speak to that in your request. The third funding mechanism that's highlighted or uplifted in the DCL is the Early Concept Grant for Exploratory Research. This funding mechanism is intended to support exploratory work or exploratory research on untested principles or untested ideas. So what we're looking for here is something that's potentially transformative, innovative, a novel approach that has not been, again, tested yet. And so please make note of what an eager is and subsequently what an eager is not. So eagers are not intended to be planning proposals. Not intended to be preliminary data projects, and they're not intended for the provision of support to the National Science Foundation. Eager, similar to our planning proposals, very concise, 8-page limits in that project description. And with this award or with this mechanism, you are eligible for up to $300,000 in funding during a 2-year duration. And then the fourth funding mechanism, as again highlighted in the Dear Colleague letter, is the equipment proposal. The equipment proposal is designed to assist with acquisition of specialized equipment to assist researchers and scholars in carrying out their research at their particular institutions. So equipment proposals can be submitted by individual investigators, groups of investigators that collaborate within a particular department or across departments, and other organizations and entities. As part of this equipment proposal, you must have one person designated as the PI, but with that, collaborators and anyone potentially utilizing the equipment or having access to equipment must be mentioned and referenced, and then subsequently biosketches must be provided for those collaborating entities as well. In the project description, you are limited to 15 pages in order to describe the access that's going to be created should this request be funded. Also important to note, you must speak to current facilities, current access. Why would it be important to support this equipment at your particular institution? What new access you're creating for your learners? What new types of experiences you're able to introduce into your curriculum with access to this equipment at your institution. So those are some of those kinds of things that you might want to consider in formulating your request as part of an equipment proposal. So some of the other required components, of course, budget justification. You want to include the quote for the instrumentation, current and pending support, facilities information, and then mentoring plans should they be applicable. So to close, just wanted to close with a couple of reminders. So I did highlight 4 funding mechanisms. They're in the PAPG. There are other funding mechanisms described in the PAPG that could be a resource to you. Very, very important to, when considering those mechanisms, you want to ensure that there's alignment with the program you intend to submit to. So in the case of HBCU-UP, you might be thinking of an equipment proposal. You'll want to speak in your request to how that acquisition of that equipment would speak to undergraduate education at HBCUs. So you want to address alignment. If you notice across the bottom of a couple of the slides, I spoke to the fact that some of these mechanisms require PO concurrence. So we encourage you, whether PO concurrence is required or not, to again, reach out to your program directors or program officers because they can be a resource to you during your developmental and brainstorming stages. Also to note, if you're kind of curious to see what types of these PAPG mechanisms that have been previously funded by HBCU-UP before, you're welcome to review the NSF Awards database. So you can do a couple keyword searches and you can say, I'm interested in an equipment proposal. What does that look like through HBCU-UP? And you can see the abstracts for previously funded equipment proposals via HBCU-UP. And about Dear Colleague Letter 24-059, we welcome submissions through June 5th, 2024, but we encourage submissions by April 15th, 2024. So that information is also available on the web. These slides and all the slides that are presented during this convening will be provided to you in the guidebook app, which I plan to check when I get back to my table. See if you guys hearted my post. Remember, I started with that. So with that being said, if you have any questions about the PAPG, mechanisms described in the PAPG, or the Dear Colleague letter, you're welcome to ask them now. You're welcome to engage with the HBCU-UP team, DGA, during the course of this convening or throughout the conference.
Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
I'm Grando Anguilla from University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. Is there any cap on equipment grant?
There is not. So while there are, you might be thinking about major research instrumentation, which is also a pathway or opportunity that's accessible to you within the confines of the PAPG equipment proposal is separate. But there is no cap, as provided that you appropriately justify that request and you include all the appropriate quotes.
Okay, and my second question on that, can it also be a collaborative one whereby you collaborate with another institution, then you can share the equipment?
Yes,
Okay.
that is a possibility as well. And you would, I'd encourage you to speak to your program director about that idea a little bit more, but we do have some equipment proposals that have created access across institutions via this mechanism. Thanks for your question. Yes.
Shanfa here from Virginia State University. Actually, I was having the same question as the other gentleman does. But so this is different from the major instrumentation grant.
Yes.
And there's no maximum, no cap on it.
There's no described cap, right? But if you do, if you have, but if you do have like a large scale request, and it would fall within that criteria description for MRI, you're welcome to kind of reach out and pursue that, but there's no written cap.
Okay, follow-up question. So can you budget in teaching release time for this type of grant?
So potentially you'd have to address in your program description. So it's perhaps that you might be looking for release time such that you would contribute to the operation of the equipment or training students or fellows and working with that equipment. It's a possibility, yes.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So quick question. I think, is it just one piece of equipment or to do a certain research project? Can you get us, I mean, because DoD does do that, like the DUREP or the, the other research grants through DoD, you can, to address a research problem, you can get a suite of equipment too.
Mm-hmm.
Is that possible? Or is it just one piece of equipment?
I would encourage you to speak to a program director. So depending on what it is, so if it's
Okay.
complementary, right, it could be part of one request or it might need to be multiple requests. Any other? Oh. Hi.
Hi, I'm from Hampton University, and I have a TIP award, and I am looking to get some equipment for the teaching laboratory. Will that equipment grant allow, or is it better to go with a supplement?
So really, really good question. Yes, it could be pursued via an equipment proposal, or you can reach out to your program officer and see, depending on the equipment, the cost of the equipment, and whether or not it would align with the scope of your original project in your TIP. It could potentially be a supplement request as well.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Hi, my name is Anna Harris, came from University of Arkansas in Pine Bluff. I have questions about conference grant. Say, if you want to host like MAA regional conference at our university, so can I ask such like that? It's not like a new, but it's like something that we wanted to do, but we don't have like a fund to host that kind of conference.
So you're saying there's already like a national convening, but you'd like to have
Have
a
it
smaller
our university, yes.
Yeah, so again, you would just need to speak to how convening as a region
Right.
would be unique and not kind of duplicate the efforts that are happening at the national level.
Okay. Can I also ask you what is a PO concurrence means?
Good question. PO concurrence just suggests that you need to have a program officer or program director from that program provide you with an email or a letter that they support you submitting the proposal. And
Thank
that's
you.
just so that we can ensure that you've been properly guided on the front end prior to submission.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna go check the app now. I hope someone hearted my post. Thank you, Carleitta.
Thank you, Joyce. If there are any AAAS colleagues in the room, can you confirm whether or not there are any questions from our virtual attendees? I do not see any in the guidebook discussion, but I'm not sure about via the Zoom chat. Thank you. With that said, I know this session was intended to be informative, and we hope that you received the information in that way. We know it was a lot thrown at you, but all of the slides, as Joyce indicated, will be made available to you so you can follow up. We invite you again to engage with us while we're here to get many of those questions answered. But we really, 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 really want you to have all the questions answered to ensure your success in implementing the projects that you have. But we also want to be here as a resource for you to receive subsequent funding as appropriate through your proposals. And so how you think about your goals and intentions on your respective campuses and think about the various funding mechanisms that are offered either through HBCU-UP, through these other funding mechanisms as outlined in the PAPG, or frankly, any other program across the agency. We really invite you to be intentional about developing what's kind of your funding plan, right? Where do you see funding potentially coming from the National Science Foundation to help you advance your specific individual goals and or institutional goals? And so our team is always available, and we look forward to engaging with you. Also, before closing, I wanted to draw your attention because this is the closing of the business meeting, but we will engage with you again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., but we will do so through a track-specific engagement. And we invite you to join us in the room that's associated with the track for which you are currently funded. Again, that might be research initiation awards. We've heard targeted infusion projects, implementation, research on broadening participation in STEM, as well as the broadening participation research centers. While we encourage you to attend the sessions that correspond to your existing projects, we recognize that some of you may be near the end. You're kind of really clear about what you want to do. You might want to learn about a different track or hear about the experiences from colleagues in a different track. This is me saying, go to whichever room you desire. But we want it to be helpful for you. And in those conversations, we want to alert you in advance that we are going to have some work for you. Okay, it's a working meeting for you where we are charging you to think about your current project and the implementation therein. And so this is my appeal for you to go into Guidebook right now. I know it's already posted, but for the tomorrow's track-specific sessions, the PowerPoint presentation for each facilitator is already posted for you to see, as well as a worksheet. It's already posted for you to see and get some ideas about what that conversation will be. And so certainly, if there's more about what we've discussed today that might help to inform the conversation on tomorrow, we invite you to review those documents in advance of tomorrow. And Joyce, I'm pleased to say you have hearts. You have hearts. And that, if there are no other questions from the audience, we will officially close our business meeting and have another break before we begin our next session, which is a plenary session that I'm really, really excited to hear. I hope that you are going to be just as excited and energized as I am about this project that's going on. That's my commercial for you, because we will have, of course, a formal introduction of that presenter soon to come. But we will close out this session with another video and see you shortly after a break.
Seeing if you're